Hare Krishna. Today I would like to share about the pastimes that happened after the deliverance of Jagai and Madai by Lord Nityananda. We all know the story how Lord Nityananda delivered the greatest sinners, the greatest offenders, and gave them the highest mercy. However, it is not much discussed what happened after that. What were the events that happened after that? What happened to Jagai and Madai after that? So I would like to share about these events, because these events have been described. These events have been described by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur in his illustrious Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Khanda. Before we start, I want to offer my respects to my spiritual master, who has removed the darkness of ignorance by enlightening me with the torchlight of knowledge. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Gurudev Ki Jai. So as we know, Lord Nityananda approached Jagai and Madai and requested them to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. However, because they were greatly afflicted with material enjoyment, with the ignorance of sense gratification, they could not appreciate the request of Lord Nityananda. And instead, Madai became very angry. He became so angry that he attacked Lord Nityananda and hit Lord Nityananda on his head. After that, Lord Nityananda began to bleed. Now we understand from scripture that Lord Nityananda, who is none different than Lord Balaram himself, his body is completely spiritual, Satchit Ananda, just like Krishna's body. Actually, Balaram is none different than Krishna, but he is the servant incarnation of Krishna. So how is it possible that Lord Nityananda, began to bleed? Because his body is not made of bones, blood and flesh. But the explanation is given by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, who explains that Lord Nityananda wanted to deliver Jagai and Madai, and he wanted Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to appear at that scene. He knew that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu loved Lord Nityananda very much, and if he would hear that Lord Nityananda was bleeding, he would come immediately. Therefore, Lord Nityananda exhibited this pastime of bleeding. But after attacking Lord Nityananda one time, Madai wasn't satisfied. He wanted to attack a second time. But at that moment, Jagai, his brother, stopped Madai and said that there is no need to do this. He's already bleeding. Why do you want to attack him a second time? Why do you want to attack a sadhu a second time? What harm has he done to us? It's okay, don't worry. At that moment, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared on the scene, very angry seeing Lord Nityananda treated in this way. And he manifested his Sudarshan Chakra, ready to kill both Jagai and Madai. Lord Nityananda begged Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and mentioned to him how he has appeared to deliver the most fallen in this incarnation. He is not meant to kill the demons. but to kill their demoniac mentality and to show compassion to the most fallen. Then Lord Nityananda said to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that actually Jagai saved my life. Madai was going to hit me a second time, but Jagai saved my life by stopping Madai from hitting me. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this, he became very compassionate towards Jagai and very pleased with Jagai. And he began to say that, "Oh Jagai, Lord Nityananda's body is like my life and soul. And you have saved this body. You have shown care for this body. Therefore you have purchased me. And therefore I award you the greatest benediction, that is devotional service to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." At that moment, Jagai held the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that is being massaged by the goddess of fortune. This is described in the Chaitanya Bhagavad by Srila Vrindavan Das. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave Jagai the greatest mercy by placing those lotus feet on Jagai's chest. Jagai began to roll, began to cry in ecstasy, in love of Godhead. He began to shiver. His hairs began to stand on end. And Madai was just watching this in wonder. He was so surprised because he didn't receive any mercy at that point. And he became so sorry for his offense. He went to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and began to offer obeisances, begging for forgiveness. He said, Madai said, that, "Oh Lord Chaitanya, Jagai is my brother. We have always done all types of sinful activities together. And even this offense towards Lord Nityananda, it is actually both of us together. It is not fair that you give him the mercy and you don't give me the mercy, because we have always been engaged in sinful activities together. So now how is it possible that he is receiving such mercy and I am bereft of the mercy? You have also incarnated to deliver the most fallen. I am the most fallen because I am the one who attacked Lord Nityananda. Therefore I am more fallen than Jagai. So I am deserving of your mercy more than Jagai. It is not fair that you are awarding your mercy only to Jagai and not to me." But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted nothing of it. He didn't hear him. Madai was begging and begging and begging. Finally, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You have offended Lord Nityananda, and therefore you are not worthy of my mercy. If you want any mercy, go beg at the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda." So then Madai went and begged at the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Lord Nityananda, being very merciful, forgave Madai and awarded him the greatest mercy of devotional service to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Without the mercy of Lord Nityananda, one can never attain Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After having thus received Lord Nityananda's mercy, Madai also began to roll on the ground. He also began to exhibit symptoms of ecstasy out of love of God. In this way, these greatest sinners became the greatest devotees. All the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who were watching this pastime became very surprised, became very happy, and they began to glorify the most magnanimous Gauranitai, the most merciful incarnation of Krishna and Balram. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then announced to all the devotees that these two brothers are now my devotees, and you should regard them as such. Do not discriminate them as sinners, because that is not who they are anymore. Now they have become my devotees, and therefore you should treat them as equals. Then Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur says, these two brothers were crying out of gratitude for such mercy being bestowed on them. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu escorted these two brothers and told the devotees, bring these two brothers to my house. So all the devotees went to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's house along with Lord Nityananda. Jagai and Madai also entered the house, and then the door of the house was closed from behind so that outsiders couldn't enter. In other words, this was referring to Jagai and Madai had now become insiders. They had become part of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's close associates. And inside, Jagai and Madai began to offer beautiful prayers. It is mentioned that Mother Saraswati very happily appeared on the tongue of Jagai and Madai, because now that they were devotees, even the demigods had great regard for them, whereas previously all the demigods had taken away their blessings on these two brothers. Now Mother Saraswati appeared on the tongue of Jagai and Madai, who were thus able to glorify Gauranitai with very beautiful prayers. There is a very beautiful description of those prayers, which we will not get into. And after that, there was kirtan. There was kirtan in the house of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, inside closed doors. And Jagai and Madai were crying tears of love for Krishna, love for Krishna Chaitanya. In the lower planetary systems, in Yamaloka, Yamaraj was watching all of these events happening, and he saw that Jagai and Madai have been allowed inside the house of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He also saw that not only are they dancing in the kirtan and chanting the names of Krishna, but they are exhibiting symptoms of ecstasy out of love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yamaraj was very surprised by this, because every day in his court, he would hear the name Jagai and Madai. His servant, Chitragupta. Chitragupta is the one who is recording all the sinful activities of the jivas. So his servant Chitragupta would always come to Yamaraj almost every day, complaining about Jagai and Madai. They have done this sinful activity. Today they have done this sinful activity. Today they have done this. Almost every day, almost every moment, the names of Jagai and Madai would be heard in the court of Yamaraj. And he was so tired hearing the names of Jagai and Madai in his court. But when he saw that they had been delivered in this way and they were chanting and dancing in this way, he became very surprised. And he called Chitragupta and asked him, can you go and bring the sinful record of Jagai and Madai? Can you see how they are chanting and dancing? This is a great wonder. Can you just go and bring? I want to see the sinful records of these two brothers. So Chitragupta went in his office, and there he had many kayastas. Kayastas are people who are very quick at writing, and they can record all the sinful activities of the jivas very quickly. So he called for them and asked them to bring the list of sinful activities that these two brothers had committed. But Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur explains that they were not able to find the limit. The list was so much, they couldn't find the limit to the sinful activities. And these kayastas were not able to keep date with the amount of sin these two brothers had committed. They were crying, the kayastas, they were crying because they couldn't reach the limit of the sinful activities. And also they were crying just imagining the reaction that these two brothers would have to suffer. They were also crying because they were fearful that Yamaraj would chastise them because of not being able to come up to date with the sinful activities of these two brothers. So Chitragupta returned to Yamaraj and told him that we are not able to find the limit to their sinful activities. When Lord Yamaraj heard this, and when he saw that now, by the mercy of Gaura Nitai, these two brothers had been delivered, he began to cry, and he began to roll and jump and dance. The hair on his body began to stand on end, and he began to exhibit symptoms of love for Mahaprabhu. We all know Yamaraj is one of the Mahatmas, the greatest devotee of Krishna. And even though he is such a strong personality who is punishing all the jivas in very atrocious ways, by seeing the deliverance of Jagai and Madai, he began to cry and tears of love for Krishna. He began to chant the glories of the mercy of Gaura Nitai. He began to dance, and he began to cry out so loudly that his cries were heard even in the higher planetary systems. Hearing these cries, all the demigods appeared at that place. And when they saw Yamaraj dancing like this, and when they understood why he was dancing, all the demigods, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Lord Indra, Agni, they all began to dance also. They all began to cry also. And in this way there was a Maha Harinam Sankirtan in the Yamaloka, glorifying this mercy of Sri Gaura Nitai on the most sinful Jagai and Madai. Chitragupta and all the kayastas, they were also dancing. It is described that the kayastas became so happy, they became freed of their fear of being chastised by Yamaraj. They became free from the fear of what Jagai and Madai would have to endure due to their sinful activities. They became freed from the fear of not being able to do their service, of keeping the records of the sinful activities of Jagai and Madai. And in this way, they were taking those records that they had made and just tearing it and throwing it in the air and dancing in Harinam while chanting the names of Gaura and Nitai. Because now all these sinful activities had been burnt in a moment by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, by the mercy of Mahaprabhu. Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur explains that after all of this, Jagai and Madai became very great devotees, very sincere devotees. They began to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra all day and all night. It is described that Jagai and Madai would chant 2 lakhs of names from the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every day. Srila Haridas Thakur used to chant 3 lakhs of names, 200,000 names, or 300,000 names. But Jagai and Madai, they chant 200,000 names of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every day. And they were exhibiting symptoms of love for Krishna while chanting in this way. However, even though they had been delivered like this, Madai, who was the one who attacked Lord Nityananda, he was still feeling very sorry for his offense. Even though Lord Nityananda had forgiven him, he was still feeling very, very repentant in his heart. So one day he approached Lord Nityananda. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur is describing this in his Chaitanya Bhagavat. One day he approached Lord Nityananda and said to Lord Nityananda, "Oh Nityananda, you are that same Lord Balaram, who is the greatest servant of Krishna. And you're serving Krishna in so many ways. In your form as Anantashesha, you are holding innumerable universes on your head. Not only are you carrying innumerable universes on your head, but you're also carrying Krishna in your heart. In your form as Anantashesha, you're glorifying Krishna with your unlimited mouth. Unlimitedly and constantly, you're glorifying Krishna. You also serve Krishna in the form of his umbrella, in the form of his shoes, in the form of his flute. All the paraphernalia for serving Krishna. That is you, Lord Balaram, Lord Nityananda. You also manifest yourself as Vrindavan Dham. And in this way, not only do you serve Krishna, but you serve Krishna, you serve the Brajabasis, you serve all the devotees, you serve the cows, the monkeys, the trees. Who can be more humble than Lord Balaram? It is described, just as a side note, that when Krishna ate the dust, ate the dirt from Vrindavan, why did he do that? One of the reasons our acharyas explain is that Krishna he understood that Balaram had manifested as this Vrindavan Dham. And out of love for Balaram, he wanted to taste the dust from the body of Balaram. Therefore he ate the dust from Vrindavan. Madai said that, "O Lord Nityananda, you are that same Balaram who is protecting the Brajabasis by killing demons like Palambasur, Dhenukasur, who represent lust and greed. You also appear as Guru. Guru is the representative of Adi Guru, who is Lord Nityananda. And this way, you are reclaiming the fallen conditioned souls and placing them at the lotus feet of Krishna." That same Balaram, who had killed Rukmini, the brother of Rukmini, who had disrespected Balaram, that same Balaram, who had killed Roma Harshana Sutta, who had disrespected Balaram, in his form as Lord Nityananda, he has now delivered Jagai and Madai, the greatest offenders. the greatest sinners who disrespected Lord Nityananda in the most abominable way. Madai said that I am so fallen that I have attacked this form, Lord Balaram, Lord Nityananda. In reply to that, Lord Nityananda said, "O Madai, just like a father doesn't take the offenses of his son very seriously, in the same way, Lord Balaram doesn't take the offenses of his devotees very seriously." We can all relate to this because to some extent or the other, we may be struggling with offenses, we may be struggling with anarthas, but if we pray for the mercy of Lord Nityananda, we pray for the mercy of Lord Balaram, then he can, with his plow, he can plow out all the anarthas, all the offenses. And then that is the job of Lord Nityananda, that is the job of Lord Balaram. And then Krishna, he can plant the seed of devotional service, the seed of love of Godhead in that pure heart, once the heart is purified in this way. And only then can we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra sincerely, purely. At that moment, Krishna and Balaram can manifest themselves in the form of the holy name on our tongue. They can dance in our tongue, they can dance in our heart, they can dance in our lives. After Lord Nityananda replied like this, Madai still had one doubt in his mind. And he said to Lord Nityananda, "O Nityananda, you may have forgiven me, but actually I have offended not only you, but I have offended so many devotees before you. I have offended so many devotees. How can I be delivered from these offenses? I don't even know how many devotees I've offended. I don't even remember who I offended." Sometimes we may ask how to become free from Vaishnava pride. Sometimes we may not even know who we offended. So how can we become free from this offense when we don't even know who we might have offended in the course of our devotional service? So the answer is very beautifully given by Lord Nityananda. He said to Madai, if you want to be free from your offenses to the devotees, you should go to Ganga, take bath in Ganga, and chant the names of Krishna on the banks of Ganga. Because the Ganga is very purifying, it can purify you of offenses. But also what you should do is anyone who is coming to Ganga, you should offer obeisances to them. And you should beg for forgiveness to them. So that is what Madai did. Madai went to Ganga. And everybody who would come there, Madai would fall at their feet and ask for forgiveness. I may or may not have offended you, O devotee of Krishna. Please forgive me. In this way, the word spread all throughout Navadvip, all throughout the world actually, that Madai had become a changed person. Madai had become a recipient of the mercy of Lord Nityananda. And they could understand why. Because his heart had changed. He had now become a changed person. his heart had been purified. So we can understand that even though we may not know who we offended, but if now we can change our behavior, if now we can become more compassionate, more careful with our dealings with the Vaishnavas, and offer our respects to them, offer our obeisances to them every moment, people will come to know of our changed heart. And even though we may not go personally to the devotee that we offended and ask for forgiveness, but if he comes to know that we have changed in our behavior, our heart is now changed, our mood is now different, we are now repentant for our offenses, and we are now seeking the mercy of every Vaishnava, and we are now giving respect to every Vaishnava. If that Vaishnava who got offended hears about this, comes to know about this, even though we may not come directly to his feet to beg for forgiveness, but he will become very compassionate towards us, and he will forgive us in his heart, understanding that we have changed, that our heart is now purified. We are now a changed person. We are now changed our hearts. Because Vaishnavas are very naturally compassionate and merciful, so they will forgive us in this way. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada has introduced offering obeisances to all the Vaishnavas at almost every moment. In the morning we are offering our respects. Vanchakalpa tarubhyasya kripasindhu vayocha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. The Vaishnavas are like desire trees, and we are offering respects to them. And in this way, when we offer respects, we can do it very mindfully and very heartfelt, praying to every Vaishnava we might have offended. Also, in the Prema Dvani, in the end, we are also saying, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled, 3 times, just to offer obeisances to the devotees of Krishna. Even when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, before chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we are praying Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, offering respects to Shri Krishna Chaitanya, to Lord Nityananda, Shri Advaita, to Advaita Acharya, Shri Gadadhar, to Gadadhar Pandit, Srivas, to Srivas Pandit. We are offering respects to them, because without their mercy we cannot chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. But then also we are offering respects to Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, all the devotees of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We offer our obeisances to them before chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So in this way, by offering obeisances regularly to the devotees of Krishna, and by changing in our behavior and respecting them, we can become free from Vaishnava pride. And in this way, there can be no limit to that flow of mercy from Gaura Nitai towards us. I would like to conclude here. We are sharing all these events from Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, from his Chaitanya Bhagavat. Thank you all for listening, and Hare Krishna.